I'd like to call to order this meeting of the Natural Resource Board for Tuesday, November 14th, 2023. If we could, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Can we have roll call, please?
Yes. Dr. Carrier.
I'm here, thank you.
Ms. Ware.
Present.
Mr. Stadelman.
I'm here.
Ms. Billman. Here. And Dr. Mosbleck is on Zoom.
Yes, I'm here.
Thank you.
Thank you to everyone coming. And can I get a motion to approve the minutes for October 3rd, 2023?
I make a motion to approve the minutes from last month.
I will second.
Is there any discussion needed for that? Seeing none, can we have a voice vote to yay for approval?
Yay.
Yay.
And Ms. Mosbleck, did you want to vote?
Yay.
And can we get a nay for non-approval? Seeing none, the minutes are approved. Item 5, announcements. And I'm sure we got some announcements.
Why do you look at me?
Because you are part of the Sebastian River Art Club.
Yes, so this Saturday, our club will be in Riverview Park between 10 and 3. Come on down, enjoy some beautiful art, buy some Christmas presents. And we also will be having our bazaar starting December 1st, which will be at the art club itself. So we have lots of miniature masterpieces that are like $20 that you can pick up, and the proceeds go to the food bank. Thank you.
And if you didn't know, the art club is just west of us here at the end of the complex. And the Riverview Park's at 600 US Highway 1, Sebastian, Florida. Is there any other announcements? Not seeing any. We'll move on to item 6, agenda modifications. Does anybody have any agenda modifications? Okay, not seeing any. We'll move on to item 7, public input. You want to do public input? No? Okay. Is there anybody on Zoom that would like to do public input?
Nobody's raised their hand at this time.
Thank you. Okay, public input is closed. Move on to item 8, unfinished business. And we'll go on to item A, sustainable Sebastian. Reduction of single-use plastics is our champion, Ruth Callaghan. But she isn't here right now, so
I can still help provide the update for this time around, and then at our next meeting, we can discuss further while she's here.
Okay, let's go ahead and do that, and then we'll just go right on through everything.
All right, so the items due for this time around were the comparison sheet for the alternatives from Sarah and the updated info packet for vendors from Donna. The cost comparison sheet you have in front of you, I believe was included in your agenda packet. One side has the list from Sarah, including the items in red, which were single-use items. Everything in black on her side of the sheet is the more sustainable options. So we have compostables, we have different varieties of materials that those are composed of from different companies. And then on the back, to assist her, I created a sheet of my own going through, and I split mine into sections, kind of like how she did with hers. She had, let's see, her sections were clamshell containers, plastic flatware, straws, plates, and for mine I have utensils, bowls, and cups were the areas that I focused on. All right. And then anything from Donna this time around?
No, except I have gone online and I passed out a couple of practical tips, which I provided to you last week when we got canceled, but I haven't worked it up into, I'm thinking that we're going to do like a bifold or a trifold to hand out to people. And it's going to be simple, like this document that I provided to you before that says, I don't know, I can't show it. But it's
See it.
basically,
I think actually everybody should have a copy now in their updated agenda
okay,
packet.
so
It should be
basically,
the last couple
the
pages.
symbols explain themselves, and we can put like 1 or 2 words under the symbols so that it simplifies things, especially for the common person out there, you know, that they don't want to see, you know, really long letters and words.
Right.
So that's what I'm working on.
Okay, awesome. I had considered, I don't know if this is something that, if you would want to take this on, or another board member might be interested in finding ways we could do that same thing, but not with all the items at once, kind of having a broken down set of graphics. So if you had multiple items that were related to single-use plastic reduction, multiple tips, then you could have a graphic saying, you know, here's this particular tip, and then maybe a small explanation as to why this particular tip is impactful. I don't know if that's something we'd like to consider, but.
So my only question about providing this information to the public, I know that we are looking at mainly the restaurants, but I think that we should have 2 pathways here at the same time, because I think the general public will definitely be interested in this educational information for themselves, and especially when we're out in the park and we're doing other things, that we have something to hand out to them that is concise and, you know, not bulky. And I just think that, especially because we still haven't resolved the issue about going out to the restaurants. So if we're preparing this information at the same time, then we'll have it for the public and we'll have it for the restaurants.
Absolutely, and then I can move forward with, say, posting graphics on our Facebook page and having a regular series of tips that we provide to the public, so there's that constant flow of information and sharing and education, and then we can also take that information to schools and help provide them with that information as well, so our kids are educated.
Yes.
Is there any additional comment on that? Okay, great job, by the way. This is a long way from where we started. I mean, it's just, this is giving you where you're at, where you can go, costs, everything else. So, great job, guys. And I really appreciate that it's not written in the tiniest of formats. Okay.
Now, I don't know if any of you have had a chance to review the particular items, but if you want to take a look at these items, take a look at the information provided, and kind of at our next meeting, let's come back with a sense of where do you think, what direction do you think we should head? Because eventually we do want to make recommendations to staff and to council on what items should be purchased and why we think that these items are reasonable alternatives to the current single-use plastic items that we have.
Are you talking about for the city complexes? Or?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
I just want clarification, as far as the city, what we're looking at now, do we really have a use for like to-go containers? Or is it more flatware and paper goods and things like that?
Flatware and cups are and paper plates or plastic plates are the most typical items that you'll see, maybe straws also. The cases in which we would use to-go containers would be if there is a gathering, you know, at City Hall, like say there's somebody's leaving for the last time and there's a luncheon for them, and then people will sometimes bring in food or snacks or whatever, and then people end up taking those things home. So that would be the only circumstance that I could foresee us needing to-go containers.
And one other thing, is this something that we could share when we do figure out if we're going directly to restaurants and places that sell things to go, to give them something to look at?
Absolutely.
For comparison purposes?
Absolutely. We can absolutely share that with, you know, whoever we do end up distributing this information to, whatever restaurants will be participating with us in this.
Excellent questions, and a lot going on there as far as the reuse of single-use plastics, single-use items. Any other questions from anybody?
I do want to pose that there are a couple contacts that we have with a few of the purveyors that Sarah was looking into. And if there's an opportunity, if anybody has the opportunity, I should say, to reach out to these purveyors so we can get maybe improved, a greater sense of pricing, that options they may be able to offer. We had talked about preferred pricing as part of the old litter quitter program, and that was something that Ruth had brought up a couple of times. And so maybe reaching out to these specific purveyors, because unfortunately Sarah hadn't had the opportunity to do it, and so she let me know. And so now I'm letting you know, if any of you are able to take on that, I'll send you the contact information that she sent me for these purveyors.
Is that something you need to know about right now?
Yes, preferably, but if you want to let me know, in a couple of days or so, you're like, okay, I have the time, I'll take the opportunity to call.
Does anybody here want to do that? Because that's what all I do all day long is call people. So, yeah, I could be glad to fit in there if I can. Okay, I think we're through with that part of Sustainable Sebastian Initiative, reduction of single-use plastics. Thank you for everybody who's working on that, Ms. Ware, greatly appreciate this. And we'll move on to native landscaping. Ms. Billman, floor is yours.
Okay, let me see here. So, we did have a meeting with Antoine a little while ago, and we are still kind of not really making any major decisions on what we're going to do. We felt like it was real important to meet with the staff that actually takes care of the parks and to get input from them as to what they're comfortable with maintaining, and also if they have suggestions of plants that they might be agreeable to have on their projects and their areas. I didn't know this, but apparently with the staffing, each park is assigned to like a specific person, and that specific person will do maybe multiple parks, but that's their area. So one person will have multiple parks, and they're responsible for the maintenance on those parks. So I thought it would be nice to be able to get some input from the staff to see what their feelings were about how we wanted to proceed as far as plants that they felt comfortable in taking care of.
Do you need to set up a meeting with everybody, like how we did our meeting in the chamber or something?
Well, we did a meeting with Felicia and Antoine, and Karen was there. And we talked about it, but we haven't gotten back with Antoine yet. So okay. That might be something I definitely need to follow up on, because everything's just sort of like in a hold right now.
Okay. Well, no, there's a lot going on. Even though sometimes it looks like the city's in a hold, they're actually doing something. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, do you have anything additional on native landscape?
Yes, I do have an update for you on the Tulip Palm project.
Yay!
So, some very good news. We finally had the fountain installed. It was I was about to say dissolved, so that doesn't make any sense. It was installed on October 20th, and we have a grant extension to May 30th of 2024 as of the 12th of October. Now, our plan going forward with this is that up through the end of December, we will be working on all of our preparations for the planting. So any removal of sod, any removal of dead plants and trees and whatnot. Then on January 19th, please mark your calendars. We are saving the date for our very own first ever Florida Arbor Day celebration. We'll consider this our first phase 1 of the planting, and the 8 new trees and their companion plants are supposed to be planted on that day.
Yay.
Apparently, around the state of Florida on Florida Arbor Day, there are several other municipalities and organizations that hold planting celebrations, and so we are going to make our phase 1 planting part of this Arbor Day celebration.
It's part of our requirements is to celebrate Arbor Day, to keep our Tree City USA designations. So, and I think they plant close to 1 million trees throughout that whole period of time with all the different municipalities and states, and it's around the world actually. And it's quite interesting when you really start looking at
It was
what they do.
interesting when I was learning about the Florida Arbor Day, that apparently Florida and Louisiana share the same Arbor Day, but many other states share a different date.
Of course, so,
Which is,
yeah,
you know.
par for the course. That's okay. We do our own thing in Florida. Woo!
And so to continue on, the subsequent plantings will be done in March and April. And 4 months after each planting, we'll have a volunteer take photos of the new pocket park to show how the plants have progressed over that time. Because when you first put in the plants, they're not fully developed, they haven't fully taken yet, the roots haven't taken hold. So once they've had a few months to integrate themselves into the landscape, then we can take pictures. I mean, of course we can take pictures when we first plant them, but we really want to show how they progress over time. And so we'll have that nice before and after contrast.
And that the Tulip Pond project, to remind everybody, is a commercial tax project. If a commercial can use that as how they do their landscaping, they can get a tax credit for it. It's used for stormwater mitigation. It's really quite the project for the area. It's great to see that happening. Is there anything else for native landscaping? All right, Dr. Mosbleck, I apologize, you're online. Do you have anything that you wanted to add?
No, not at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll move on to item 3, tree protection and landscaping ordinances. And Mr. Carano is our champion for that one, and he's not here today. Do you want to update us with that? And appreciate all your updates, Ms. Gordian. Greatly appreciate that.
All right, so last time we discussed having a list of areas for improvement for the tree protection and landscaping ordinances. So I've drafted this list going through just our residential tree protection and landscaping sections, and section by section within that article kind of summarizing what I think are some of the major points, and fellow staff members have, advised me on, hey, we should add this to the list. This is another area that we should add or change, or maybe there's a program we can add into the code here that would make this beneficial for the community. So I would appreciate any feedback you guys have on this list, and moving forward, this is what we would like to address, and hopefully with our new community development director, we'll have some new valuable input for this ordinance changes. Excellent.
Is there any additional input for tree protection and landscape ordinances? Mr. Carano's not here, so I don't have a whole lot there. Okay, not hearing any. We'll move on to item 4, resource conservation. And Ms. Ware, table's yours.
Sorry about that.
That's okay. Take your time.
I'm not really sure what my job was for this meeting in particular. Did we assign me a task for this particular one?
Yes, so I think your two tasks
Or together?
are kind of together.
That's what
So the one for the single-use plastic section was more from taking the PowerPoint that Ruth had developed and turning that into a physical packet that we can hand out. And then this is more so for, for having outreach that we can distribute to staff members internally, to kind of get the ball rolling on not just single-use plastics, but paper consumption, energy and fuel usage, and things of that nature.
So basically, I combined the two of them, so.
Okay, that's what I thought, so,
We don't
okay,
have
all
to-
right.
we don't have
So
to
we
go
don't have
through
to
that.
rehash that,
Okay.
okay. Is there any questions? Anybody have anything? Nothing? Okay, not hearing anything. Move on to item 5, green infrastructure and low-impact development. Dr. Mosbleck, would you like to present anything on this tonight? I know you're on Zoom, it's a little hard to.
Yeah, no worries. So I
I had reached out to Felicia. The last couple months at school have been pretty intense in terms of my responsibilities there. So I haven't been as productive as I had hoped. But in the next month, I've got a kind of a list of 4 parks that I'd like to try and visit, try and space them out. And so I should have a better update for everyone then. One thing I did actually, and I know it's not necessarily something that I was assigned, but in my travels, one of the parks that I tend to go to quite a bit is the Stormwater Park on Anglar. And one of the invasives that my sons and I have actually been noticing as we walk through is a whole lot of air potato. As you go through kind of the hammock area from the more shaded parking lot. And then I've also been seeing a whole lot of air potato around the more open parking lot. And I was just curious and wanted to kind of bring up the idea that, you know, I've done air potato removal events with the Audubon Society, the Pelican Island Audubon Society down at their facility. And I was wondering if this might be something we could incorporate into maybe our Earth Day type of event, or volunteer, you know, kind of day before or after in April. And I just kind of thought I'd bring that idea up and see what people thought.
Well, I could bring that to the board or we could set it up at a later date. Are you guys want to talk about it right now, or you want to?
No, I think that it's an excellent idea. I think that we can wait another month to get into it after we get through to some other events, with things we have to plan today. So,
Okay.
but I think, Nikki, it's a great idea, and I'm all for bringing it, the kids would love to do that. I think kids, school projects, and it's, you know, it's right there. I'm pretty sure that there's an elementary school right near the Pelican Island, or one of them, that would be really, for them to get in there and pull things out. They'd have a ball.
Yeah, that's what I took my sons as well, so I agree with you, Donna. And Pelican Island is there. I don't really have too much connection with them, but it would be interesting to kind of put that out there to some of the Sebastian elementary schools. I think you're right. The Pelican Island Audubon Society, one of the cute things that they did when I attended with my sons was they had all sorts of prizes. They had a prize for the smallest air potato, a prize for the biggest air potato, the most oddly shaped, all kinds of stuff. So it made the kids kind of get into that competition mood.
Okay, excellent. So we could probably see that on our next agenda. Is there any other additional comments on that?
I just wanted to add to that, Nicole, is that I've noticed a lot of the vacant lots are just covered with the potato vines. And a lot of the people that move here don't have any idea what they are or how invasive they are. Because when they move in that property, they're all taken out. But you pointed out that out at the Stormwater Park and maybe some of our other parks, they might be there. They're probably not as prevalent as I've noticed them in vacant lots in my neighborhood. But yeah, I think that's a great idea to maybe do a little bit more public awareness of this invasive vine, because they're kind of weird when you look at them, like air potato, and that's exactly what they look like. And maybe to do something like a Mr. Potato Head contest where they will decorate one or something like that would be really cute. So I am totally on board for that project.
Dr. Carey?
Yeah, it's worth noting that some of our priorities on Earth Day have shifted a little bit, and Felicia's going to be talking about some of our living shoreline projects that she's sort of pioneering. I think we're not going to be able to continue with what we've done with the oyster reefs, for example, permitting notwithstanding, and some other issues that may have terminated that project. So having a hands-on project such as what Nicole is suggesting would be a good substitute, because getting people involved, I think, is an important aspect of Earth Day. So maybe this is a good way to transition to another project rather than beating the oysters to death. We can talk about that, as Donna suggested, at our next meeting, perhaps.
Are these air potatoes edible? No. No? I'm thinking potato, you know, I'm like, you look at me and you're like, potato guy. Okay, can't eat the air potatoes, thank you. All right, any additional comments on that?
I do want to say, Nikki, that I'm very glad that you brought up this subject because I have been pondering ways in which we can utilize the public and volunteership for invasive species removal because it's such a prevalent issue on many of our parks and properties. And I actually have a report for you all on a couple of the tracks that I visited recently. And we can kind of go over how the invasive species are involved in that. And I think if there's any way we can get the public hands-on involved in the removal of invasive species, I think that might take a little bit of a load off of the city when it comes to maintenance because there's such a huge barrier to constantly having to keep up all these wild areas and keep all the invasives out of it. And if we can make an educational experience for the public, you know, when it comes to the invasive species removal, that may serve well.
Thank you, Dr. Mosbeck. Do you have any additional comments on that?
No, that was it. Thank you. I'm glad this is something that we can move forward with. I actually, my last comment, we noticed at the Pelican Island Audubon Society when we were there a couple months ago that we've done this twice now with them, and it almost seems like if you do this on a regular basis, it does help cut back, like Felicia was saying, on that huge kind of overwhelming task of trying to get them out of there. So if we made this into something that happened more regularly, I think that would be really helpful, and you know, spreading awareness is always a good thing. So thank you all for your kind of support for that.
Thank you for your work out there, Dr. Mosbeck. Greatly appreciate everything you do. Okay, we'll move on to, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Charles, I do
Yes,
have my report on the tuxedo tract for you. I wasn't sure if that was what you were about to say, but if you were about to move on to the next one, I was going to say.
Progress update.
Yes.
Tuxedo track report. Sure, I was moving right on to that.
So I actually have the Newhall tract and the tuxedo tract for you both. It's my mistake for not including Newhall tract on that. But these two properties are actually very close to each other in proximity. There's only a block in between them. They're very similar in size, but their composition is a little bit different. Ross Kelly and I went out there to investigate to see what's going on for our green infrastructure plan. And for the Newhall tract, this lot in particular is actually, I think they're both just over 2 acres, if I'm not mistaken. And the Newhall tract is very, very nice habitat as it stands right now. There are a few invasives on the north side of the lot, on the Rosebush Terrace side of the property. And the southwest edge has some escape landscaping plans from the neighboring lots, but overall there's a lot of healthy native flora out there. We've got muscadine, gallberry, greenbrier, small palmetto, sable palms, pines, some rusty lionia ferns. The invasives that are on the northern side of the lot include melaleuca, Brazilian pepper. Some of the landscaping plants include pencil cactuses and devil's backbone, and I'm not sure if strawberry guava is ever used as a landscaping plant, but that is one of the non-natives that's on that list. And there's a little bit of ponding on that north side of the lot, but the south side of the lot, or I should say the southern half of the Newhall tract, is very much, it's more on the scrubby and sandy side, and it's a little bit more upland than those areas that are ponding on the north side. And because there are just a few invasives over on that north side, I think it would be beneficial to us if we just simply remove those few invasives that are on that property and keep the rest of this habitat intact. There is actually, when we were out there, we happened to see that there are some pathways, as if somebody is using the lot regularly. There may be a gopher tortoise burrow out there, but of course we'd probably have to get a certified gopher tortoise agent out there to verify if that is the case. And overall, I think this is a really healthy, fantastic tract, and I'm hoping that we can maintain this. As it is, of course, this is one of those lots that I think was originally slated back with when General Development created the Sebastian Highlands. This was one of those lots that was originally designated as a stormwater pond. And I believe the same thing goes for the Tuxedo Tract as far as it being designated for a stormwater pond. This particular lot was a little bit more on the invaded side than the Newhall Tract was. Overall, it wasn't too bad. There was a little bit of wetness and ponding on that north side of the lot, kind of similar to the Newhall Tract, but not nearly as much water. And there were, let's see, lots of, a lot of the same plants, more Caesar weed on this side, and some bush bean and some other invasive plants. And the ditch that is running perpendicular with this particular lot, I apologize, I should have given you guys some sort of visual so you can look at this, but there is a ditch that is connected to the southwest side of the lot, and that ditch does not look like it's flowing. The water is just kind of stagnant in there, and it looks like the banks may be partially maintained, but that may be something that we'll have to keep track of going forward, because the not only the land-to-land connectivity, but the water and the stormwater connectivity is an extremely important part of our green infrastructure tracks. That is all for my update for now.
Wow. And I take it that's all going to be city property, open to public as going forward, or is it?
It is city property, but it's not designated as a park. It's not designated as anything right now. It's just a vacant tract. So people may be, traversing these areas. Like I said, with the Newhall Tract, it looked like that there was human activity on a regular basis in these tracts, but they're not officially open as a park or anything. There's no official title or utility to them.
Thank you very much. Any additional comments on any of that? Okay. The only thing I have to say is, did you know about the Indian River County Land Trust acquiring the 33 acres out at Graves Brothers? Do you have any info on that?
No, I do not have anything to share.
Okay, I don't have a whole lot on that either. It's just what they're all doing right now, and I didn't know if we had anything, so I don't need to comment on it any more of that. Okay, anything else on that one? We'll move on to item 6. Sidewalks and bikeways, and that's me. Really, to be honest with you, with sidewalks and bikeways, it's all tied in, from what I can see, to overall transportation and state mobility guidelines. And a lot of people, what we looked at was the sidewalks and bikeways as they traveled over the railroads. That was a big thing of what we're talking about. Redoing a lot of the sidewalks as they're going down Barber Street, and using basically what we can and can't do. A lot of the sidewalks, when you see them cutting off, it turns out somebody owns that piece of property. And back in the day when everything was being built here, they didn't really take the property. And now sidewalk just ends and you got to cross the street. So until they can figure out something to do about that, a lot of that's not going to change. I think there was a couple of areas that we could have worked on, but doing sidewalks is kind of difficult. Mostly it's tied directly into the roads. That's really all I can say, is there's not a whole lot you can do with it. One, we were looking at doing the mobility sidewalk entrances with the peoples with disabilities, sight disabilities. It's $15,000 just to do one corner. So it's going to have to be upgraded as the roads are upgraded. But the bright side of it all is a lot of it is included in when they're going to widen the road. There's going to be a sidewalk there. If they're going to put in a new store or a new house, the sidewalks are going in. So when you're looking down Schumann Drive and they're going to put in something there, it looks like a sidewalk's going to go in right along with it, all the way to US 1. And that's, that's really it for sidewalks. You know, what I'd really like to do with sidewalks and bike paths, if I could switch that to Ruth, give her my duties, because there's not a lot that can be done with sidewalks, and she's more effective and knows more about what could be done out there than I would. So she would be more effective in that slot for the amount of work that really needs to be done on, for sidewalks and stuff, and for bike paths, because she's a biker. And for what can and can't be done, if I can transfer those duties over to her, if she'll take them, I would appreciate that. If we could check into that, because there's not a lot I can really affect there.
We can certainly discuss that with her, since she is the champion for the single-use plastics topic. I'm not sure if she'll want to take on something additional, but, or she could very well want to assist and help you out, or you could still be the champion and the spokesperson for it, but she can always assist you. So there are probably some options here for you.
Because with sidewalks, it's kind of like going, that's a sidewalk, you know, and we will try to affect bike paths and all, but it's really tied into upper level state. One of the biggest things I also have to say is that you got to be at these meetings. That, like, we went to the county meeting, that was pretty big, it turned out. You know, there was people from all over the place there. So we need representation at the county level. Sebastian needs to be integrated that way, because I noticed that the monies came from federal to state and the county, and basically stops there. And Indian River, you know, hasn't been known to be as pleasant as it possibly could be to Sebastian over the years, but that's changing. You know, a lot of that had to do with basically how this place grew up. So that was the most number one thing, is just somebody's got to be at these meetings to have a voice, to get what little bit we can get. And, but it's not gonna be a whole lot, because it's tied directly into transportation projects that are in the works. So, anybody have any comments on sidewalks or anything?
I did, what we were talking about earlier about the Schumann area, with the Bright Line coming through, are they responsible for like putting sidewalks across the tracks and stuff?
I was actually looking at that. They actually have sidewalks going across
But
how
then
they're
they-
supposed to. And,
Yeah.
if you look at it right now, they're just finishing up everything. And they have to provide access, so.
But then they stop.
Well, they jog over, actually. They put you, yeah, I know. That's what everybody doesn't like, the bike paths kind of jog you over into the middle of the traffic. But it's so that you can go forward or make that left-hand turn. And until they're really done with everything there, you're not gonna really see what's going on.
Yeah.
And, but if you go look at it right now, there's actually a sidewalk that they just put in, and it goes over the railroad tracks. It just ends here, and then
Yeah.
crosses the street, and then picks up over there,
I
then
know,
across the street
it
again.
is very weird, because I drive by that intersection all the time on Schumann.
Now, that's all changing as we speak, especially at Barber Street, where it comes out, at Publix, that is scheduled for all kinds of nice sidewalk work all the way down. And then at Schumann, because of the construction that will probably take place there in the future, and they just did their land swap, I guess, at the last city council meeting. And, any type of building that goes in there, they're gonna have to improve that sidewalk, which is also gonna include some improvements to that pond there, because of how close it is. There's gonna be a lot of work done there. And that sidewalk should tie into the railroad sidewalk, as long as we get concessions from the builders, as we're asking for these things. They wanna put the building in, we want the sidewalk, okay, let's make a deal. So, however that works. But going forward, you just gotta be at the meetings. I mean, that's all you can do. And, every meeting, it could be something, so it just really is. Any additional comments on sidewalks?
I would like to press the point for everyone's sake that a lot of the issues that we have with the sidewalks and bikeways in the city of Sebastian are due to the amount of right-of-way space that we have. Unfortunately, for some reason, when Sebastian was developed, not a lot of consideration was given for the amount of right-of-way space that would be needed to eventually put in a sidewalk. You can see in many areas of the Highlands where it's just a neighborhood and there's no sidewalks because the right-of-ways and the roads are not nearly big enough to accommodate adding a new sidewalk. So, for example, along Barber, in many areas, you have the sidewalk on the one side of the street, but not on the other, and it's just because of the way the right-of-ways were developed when the Highlands were developed. And so now we're having to kind of work around and see where there are areas that we can, develop new sidewalk pathways. One area that we talked about at our meeting with Karen was the Carnation area. That area of town may be eligible for a sidewalk because the right-of-ways happen to be wide enough. And so it's kind of one of those weird scenarios, but it may be a possibility. And I'm hoping that maybe there are opportunities for us, that where there are opportunities to put sidewalks in, then maybe we can do something related to community engagement, talk to people about the issues that they see in their neighborhoods as far as the implementation of sidewalks or issues that there might be because of the fact that we have such limited space for these sidewalks.
Yeah, when she says limited space, what she really means is no space. So yeah, there's just no space. So I'm sitting here looking at all the maps. I got all the maps in front of me, like, where do you want to put these sidewalks? And we got that one little block around Carnation, one block that we can actually put a sidewalk in. But, you stay on top of it, you look for places that you can make an impact, maybe street crossings with pedestrians on Indian River Boulevard, that we brought up a lot, because there really isn't any pedestrian walk across right there at the park. And again, everybody talks about the crossings at the railroad, but they're really a work in progress, and we gotta see what happens there. And nobody likes how that bicycle lane goes out, but I don't know where we're gonna go with that, because that's almost written into, it's like canon in state transportation rules and Department of Transportation and everything else. They say this is what it is, and they're not going to change. Any additional comments on that? Okay, not hearing none. Do we need to do a review of task assignments?
Just to go over everything that we've, just kind of give a brief overview of what we talked about, and the next best step forward is really what I'm looking for at this particular stage.
Okay, do you want to present that?
Right. So for single-use plastics, our next step forward, at our next meeting, let's aim to discuss our recommendations, what everyone thinks are the best utensils for us to implement. Charles, if by the next meeting, if possible before the next meeting, if you can contact those purveyors,
Okay.
as we spoke about, and get that information back to me, so that way I can share that with the rest of the board. You can keep me, if you send emails, keep me CC'd and whatnot, or you can send me anything that they may happen to send you, and then we will go from there. And if you have any comments or concerns about the list that I've sent you, sent all of you, please let me know. But this is what we'll be working with for the time being.
Okay, thank you. Native landscaping?
Right. So I think our next step will be organizing some sort of meeting with park staff and discussing with them areas for, just working with them on where they're willing to work on new landscaping, where they think it might be too much of a hassle, and determining those steps going forward.
Okay. Item 3, tree protection landscape ordinances?
This one, unfortunately, is kind of in limbo at the moment. I think when our new community development director gets settled, we'll have more of a footing for this one. In the meantime, if all of you could look over the suggestions that I've made for the code potential areas for improvement in the code. If you see any other areas for improvement that I've missed, please, bring them to my attention, and we'll discuss them with staff as well.
We'll just go resource conservation, because that's really number one. They kind of overlap. Number 5, green infrastructure and low impact development.
Nikki, for your part in this, I'm not sure how many, you would be able to get to in the next month, and I know that we're creeping into holiday season, so I know that things are going to get quite crazy for everyone. If you happen to have a park or two that you visit during that time, just report on that when the next meeting comes.
Will do.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Mossbeck. And any additional comments on that? Number 6, sidewalks and bikeways. I guess we can have our champion meeting at some point. I'd like to get Ruth in on that though, if we could at some point.
Yeah. I'll have to find out because I don't think you two would be able to be in the same room together discussing this as it would be,
I guess what I'm really saying, I'd like Ruth to attend that meeting. So, but let's find out how that goes. And I don't really have any additional comments on that other than that. Without any additional comments from anybody? Okay, we'll move on to item B, Christmas parade preparations. Yay. Okay, the first thing we need to do is discuss what the float options are and what we're going to do.
All right, so I did send you all an email within the past week. I'm not sure if you've had a chance to look over it, but your options, as we discussed from the last meeting, are a couple of golf carts, which would each be a 2-seater, and then everybody else would have to walk, or we would have a flatbed truck and trailer with a driver from the Public Works staff. Both of these options involve assistance from some other department, either someone bringing the golf carts to us for us to decorate, and then to have to bring back down to the parade start, and then us bringing back to City Hall somehow. And then the other version would be us having the truck and trailer. Everybody could sit in the trailer, and then it's mostly a matter of, one of the big concerns, I think either way, is transporting everyone back to City Hall from that point, if they were putting the entire float together and decorating and whatnot at City Hall that day, getting back is a concern, regardless.
Let's decide if we're doing the truck or the carts.
Actually, the float was fairly easy. We decorated it here, we ran the parade, then I think that evening we dropped the plants off at a nearby nursery, came right back here with the float and the truck, and everybody's car was here, so there was no transportation issue. With the golf cart, it's a little bit different scenario, but, and not everybody was on the float the last time we did it. We actually had several walkers that were passing out, and I don't remember whether we passed out candy or seed packets or
Side of the road.
yeah. But in any case, we had a bunch of plants, and I think we had something that looked like packages, Christmas packages and stuff like that, so. And that may have been stashed away somewhere, probably still wrapped.
The Art Club has a few of them, and I can easily make more boxes. And we did get the plants from the place right here on Main Street. That's where we got the plants. But we have to ask them for them. They're loaned to us, and then we return them. And we have their sign on the side. So I think the biggest question I have is, I know you listed a bunch of materials that you have in storage, but do we have any money to spend on upgrading that stuff? Mainly, I know that they had lights. I think they plugged them into the truck somehow so that the lights lit up. Mm-hmm. And then we had our banner. I think that we need to have something, again, and I know I said this already before, going back to the simple symbols, and maybe I brought from the art club some examples. If some of us wanted, we could paint over these signs that say, one of our things that we're concerned about, like, recycle. you know, all of our little things. And we could put these kind of signs around the float easily. I think what Jeff said about the float is the easiest option. So I would go for that.
Dr. Mosblick, you're online. Do you have any preference for float or 2 electric golf carts?
I don't. Unfortunately, I won't be able to attend, on the second. I think it would just be up to those who are able to be there and what their preferences for, you know, moving down the parade, so, yeah.
Thank you for that. Ms. Billman? Do you have a preference for golf carts or float?
I
truck?
definitely think the float would be the easiest way to do it. I did have a suggestion also, for a possibility that could be like not just for the sustainable Sebastian, but also just a little bit more on the fun side of being tied into Pelican Island, the home of Pelican Island and so forth, sort of giving Sebastian like a little bit more of a something to be remembered by. And with Pelican Island, I think that's our go-to thing, and environmentally, that's kind of started here. And so one of my thoughts was to possibly do, one of my favorite things when I first moved here was Welcome to Sebastian, the home of friendly people and 6 old grouches. And that's always been something that I thought was so endearing to Sebastian, and I thought it'd be kind of neat to have a sign that we could use whatever we do, where people could actually become a grouch, if you will. So it would be like the logo with the Sebastian logo, but then somehow to incorporate the 6 old grouches with maybe just a drawing or a painting of somebody's face, but it could be something where the face could be kind of moved over to the side, and then like one of us could put our face in that little hole. You know what I mean?
You'd make a grouchy face hole.
Exactly.
Right.
And then we become the 6 old grouches for that year. But I mean, it could be also something that could be used at other events, during Arbor Day and, whatever we have going on, where it's a photo op for people as well, is what I was thinking.
Well, for now, what's the date of the parade?
The second.
Oh, it's early this year.
It's really.
The
Yeah,
second.
and we got Thanksgiving coming, so let's focus on what we can.
Yeah,
what we
I
can
agree,
do.
Sheridan. I think that's a great idea for the Earth Day.
Yeah.
Yeah, stuff coming
We
up.
can talk about it again
Yeah.
at a later date, because I think it would be fun. It'd be another thing that the kids could get into. But I don't think there's any way we
Yeah,
can
there's not
pull
enough time.
it off for this time.
But
for
we
this
did
parade.
we did decide one thing. We did decide we are gonna use the truck and the trailer. So that's good.
Did we find out if we have any more monies that we can purchase additional items to kind of spruce things up?
So we do have our special events budget that is typically allocated for Earth Day, but also, I believe every year a little bit was also allocated towards the Christmas parade, and that wasn't ever, as far as I know, wasn't ever a designated amount. It was just whatever was necessary, and it wasn't ever a lot of money that was spent. Most of that money ended up going towards Earth Day anyways, so we can probably spend a little bit of those funds for.
Can I ask another question?
Yes, ma'am.
Aren't there like 2 parades? Isn't there 4th of July and Christmas, right?
Yes.
So wouldn't it make sense to have something that we could kind of reuse for both events?
Well, we don't do 4th of July.
Oh, we don't?
Not this board. It was something political too, and I don't know what it is, but
okay.
we only do Christmas.
Okay, never mind.
Okay, so we're doing the
too
truck
hot.
and trailer. And it doesn't take a whole lot to redo all of that. We had some plants from across the street. We had hay bales so that we could sit on it. We had the lights that should still be there. And then we had our own decorations, like the garland we put around it, made it look nice.
And I think we put on the boxes like gift tags that said things like recycle and so on the different boxes. So that was the part that we were bringing in.
You still do your signs.
I can do the signs on the boxes.
Do the signs and just carry them on
Yeah.
there. We'll throw candy at people.
No.
No?
Wait, we were talking about not throwing candy because of the wrappers and stuff.
No candy.
Does anyone have any better ideas? I mean, if there are people who are walking, they can hand people candy if you so choose to have candy at all.
I thought we were looking for something that,
Right. What happened was we handed out candy the first year and the wrapper, we literally handed it to the people and the wrappers were just everywhere.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
It was just hard. And that's something that
we
we're
can't
trying
stop.
to avoid, right?
know.
And to do wrapperless candy, it's just, they're just, the big gummies in the jars, just.
I know that there are some candies that come with, more sustainable wrappers, but I think those come with a much higher price tag than perhaps we're willing to.
I tell you what we give them coupons.
We went through such a mammoth amount of candy. And we
Yes.
ran out halfway down. And we got booed because we weren't giving anything out.
Yeah, boo. Well, let's decide, are we gonna give out candy or not this year?
Well, whatever decision we make, can I point out that we got 2 weeks?
Yeah.
Right. So we
And
need,
so we have to figure out who's gonna show up to decorate this float, where the materials are, who's gonna make arrangements for the plants, Felicia, and so on and so on and so on. And the hay bales, and
Right.
these things don't just drop out of City Hall.
I think we got just about all of that from the same place, the hay bales, the plants, everything came from the, I cannot
A
remember.
plant for me?
A plant for me.
You got hay bales
No,
from a
that
tree for
was-
me?
Where'd that come from?
Usually, if you go to Fellsmere Feed, that's where you can get the hay bales.
But
That's
you
where
have
I
to
get-
buy
There
them.
you go. We had to buy them?
Well, they might loan, I don't know.
I just
I
know
know
we
that-
had it lined with hay and it worked out pretty good.
All right,
We
well,
could
I
sit on it.
volunteer to take on the plant people and the boxes.
Okay.
That's my deal.
So,
Can you find out what materials we have left? Is there garland left? Are there lights?
We do have garland, we have lights, there's tape. There are a couple different types of lights. There's a few different kinds of bows. There's maybe like 4 or 5 bows at the most. There's the fringed green festooning
I
on one of
did
those
not
spools.
like that at all. And it was made of plastic.
Oh, was that one? I thought that one was paper when I looked at it, but maybe it was
Well,
plastic.
Pull it out.
Yeah.
You also need to check with Public Works and make certain that the truck has an inverter so it can handle the light strings. We got, I think it did.
Yeah.
If not, I have a AC inverter that just plugs into a cigarette lighter that would run whatever lights we need, but
So
these
somebody
kinds.
has to take on the hay bales.
I think somehow they just came on the truck. Last year, they
Somebody
came on
had
the
to
truck.
arrange for it, Charles.
Right, no.
Maybe Public Works has a stash of hay bales somewhere that,
I don't know, I don't think we have any cows we're looking to feed, so I don't know
Well,
if
they
we
use
have
it
any
for
hay
the
bales.
water. They use it for water
yeah,
retention.
like for stabilizing
Right, the
good
bank
Perhaps
ground,
I'll-
maybe?
That might be a Karen question, so I can reach out to her and ask, but
So, do we
otherwise
ha-
Fellsmere,
Do we
What-
have a list of things that we need to kind of check off then? We need to do the hay bales. If we do the trees, are we going to do like lights like in the palm trees or something, or what were your thoughts?
Well, just like we did before, we decorated everything we could with what we have, and if we put lights in the trees, that's what we did before.
I don't think
just
we-
potted plants.
Yeah,
we
yeah,
did-
that's all
they
there
weren't
is.
big.
They're like
They
2 or
weren't
3
big.
potted plants, they're
Okay.
like palms, and the trailer's a flatbed trailer, and we lined it. And if we don't get the hay bales, that's fine too, it's not the worst thing in the world, because we just really use it just to sit on, and it looked good.
I have a suggestion. I may, now that it'll be after Thanksgiving, so it's Thanksgiving, there's like almost 10 days between Thanksgiving and our parade. So maybe there's places that have hay bales. I know one place that I might be able to get them, but I can't get them in my car. if they're willing to donate them, how could we get them?
If you contact me, I've got a truck and a trailer,
Awesome, okay.
so I'd be happy to,
Okay, because I think I have about 4 nice-sized hay bales that I might have access to. Okay,
yeah, that I can transport
okay.
So do we?
25 hay bales without a blink.
Okay, well, I will ask about the hay bales in the next day or two, and then I'll get back to you.
We need to find out who's gonna show up.
Yeah.
December 2nd.
I know, but do we just, everything's just going to happen on the afternoon of the 2nd?
Yes.
That's what happened last
Didn't
time.
take that long. It really
No.
didn't.
Yeah, we started about 3 o'clock,
Yeah.
as I remember it,
Right.
because we had to pick up the plants and all this other stuff, so it doesn't come together in 10 minutes.
Okay, well, I definitely will be there on the 2nd, okay?
We need to find out if other members of the board are gonna show up. So
We
when-
can send out a general email for that here the next day. Well, does everybody here know if they're showing up or not? I know Dr. Mosblick, you had said that you're already committed. I plan on being there. Again, I live a kind of a crazy life right now. But
I
do
will
plan
be
on
there
being
for the decoration. I'm not 100% sure about being in the parade itself, but I will definitely be there for the decorating.
I'll be there for decoration and transport, but I won't be a walker. Unless
Be a
I have a
rider.
walker.
Right. Yeah, we'll all be riders. Okay, so we can figure this all out within the next couple of weeks. I think we can meet this deadline as a team and come together on the 2nd and have a very good presentation for the city of Sebastian, to help celebrate Christmas as we do.
So you all want to start putting the float together at about 3 p.m. that afternoon?
Yes,
Yeah, so it
ma'am.
needs to be there behind the building here.
Right here?
Usually,
Yeah, they usually
I think
come-
they were like,
Yeah,
right in the
right out here in
parking
the parking
lot.
lot, yeah.
Which means public works staff, Bub or whoever's gonna drive the truck and the trailer need to be there before we are.
Right, absolutely.
Okay, that went great. We decided to do the truck and trailer. We've all picked a job on what we're doing, trees and other things, hay bales. We're gonna be here the day of the parade at 3 o'clock. Is there any additional comments from anybody for
Yeah,
that?
I think I'll come over and go through what you found in your closet and make sure the lights work and things like that.
Okay.
Sometime probably after Thanksgiving, I don't know. I'll talk to you.
That sounds good.
Excellent. And greatly appreciate everybody's assistance with this. There's a couple things we do every year. This is one of them. It's one of our chances that everybody comes together feeling good, and we get to promote the environment and everything that's great about Sebastian. And look forward to the opportunity. Okay, not seeing any additional questions for any of that. We'll move on to item 9, new business. And one item on it is living shorelines, a briefing on the partnership with Orca.
All right, just before we move on, Sherida, did you have something?
Yes, but I think it's more for next year. But I did want to let you know that I did reach out to the Audubon Society, and I don't know if anyone had seen their character, Pelly the pelican.
Kelly.
Yes. And so, and I was hoping that we could use Pelly for the float. And so Pelly he's the little mascot, and it is a little, like a, what do you call it, small mascot. But Donna said that Vero was having their Christmas parade the same day that we're having ours. So maybe next year, we could kind of talk about if we could get Pelly on our float next year.
Or Earth Day.
Well, the Earth Day, they're there anyway, because I think Pelly's a new addition to the Audubon Society.
Okay.
Entourage, if you will, but he's very cute.
Appreciate that, Ms. Billman.
You would wear that, right?
Oh, yeah.
Well, I don't know if I'd want to wear it after 3 other people have worn it, but.
Sure. Okay, getting back to item A, living shorelines, briefing on partnership with Orca. Do you have anything you want to
Yes,
present with them? Okay.
so, not sure if you all are familiar with Orca. All right, I see nod of heads, good. They are a research institution, and their focus is on aquatic ecosystems and development of innovative technologies and conservation and education and outreach. And we've been having discussions with Missy Weiss regarding the kayak launch in Riverview Park. When I first started looking into our Living Docks project, attempting to find out what ways we could keep the project alive and keep things going, I was introduced to Missy, and we started talking about living shorelines and buffered shorelines, and this is something that they've worked on with many other projects. They've worked with other municipalities, such as the city of Satellite Beach, on living shoreline projects and buffered shorelines. And they are proposing that we can kind of update our current kayak launch in Riverview Park, give it a buffered shoreline, give it a living shoreline. The buffered shoreline would, of course, be on the upland areas, preventing runoff from reaching into the lagoon. And then for the living shoreline component, there would be reef balls spread out throughout the water, leaving a pathway, of course, for the kayaks and the canoes to get out into the water. And, of course, a series of other shoreline plants that we could incorporate there. The general timeline for this, if this does take place, we've had a few discussions and the ball has already started rolling, and Missy is starting to have conversations with the DEP regarding permitting and possible exemptions for permits. There's an Indian River Lagoon Council grant that Orca would apply for in order to move forward with this project. The grants are open now through January 2024, and Orca has some additional funding if need be, and the city does have some additional funds that would be available to us if we needed to work through that. I should also add that we have requirements that we have to meet for FEMA purposes, and so if we have to meet FEMA requirements, we may be having to update our shorelines anyway, and so this would be extremely helpful, and this could be something that would help us with our BMAP credits, which would be wonderful. If we do receive an exemption from the DEP, that would be around June of 2024. If Orca is fortunate enough to receive grant funding from the IRL NEP, that would be in about October next year. The eroded areas would need to be filled in before new plantings could take place. The buffered plantings, of course, could be done at any point because those don't necessarily need permitting. And the suggestion was that those could take place on Earth Day of April 2025 as kind of a stand-in for our previous Living Docks project. And Karen Miller, our Public Works Director, our city engineer, has expressed that they're, like I said before, FEMA requirements, so there's an opportunity to kind of combine efforts and restore much more than just this small area. But this is kind of our pilot. We're kind of testing the waters with this, and we're very excited to move forward with this project.
Awesome. Fantastic. Any questions from anybody on this? Dr. Mosblick, you're online. Do you have any questions?
No, I think it sounds exciting. Thank you.
It really, really does. Without seeing any other questions from anybody, the only thing I'd like to say is congratulations to the City Council on their being elected and standing for the City of Sebastian. Thank Mayor Jones, Vice Mayor Chris Nunn, and Councilperson Bob McPartland. Greatly appreciate your services to City of Sebastian, and we look forward to putting you to work real hard. Not seeing anything else on the agenda. Can I get a motion for adjournment?
I'll make a motion for adjournment.
Second.
All say aye.
Aye.
This meeting is adjourned.